Hey, vinyl community, Elliot here with Lazy Dogs Records, and I've got my buddy Chester with me, gnawing on his bone while I make this video. Chris Profi at Musically Obsessed has a 650 contest. He's got over 650 subscribers. Chris, that's just amazing. If you don't know Chris and his channel, I'll put a link below. Please subscribe. He's a great guy. He has some great content. He's always finding great records. He's playing great records. He even plays the guitar every once in a while for us. His taste is very eclectic. So, you know, you could see everything from a heavy metal album to a 80s commercial country record, and everything in between and sideways in his collection. So he's got some wide-ranging taste. So I think everybody will find some things they like and learn something from Chris's channel, probably. Maybe find some music they want to don't know about and want to get into. Okay, so he's got 6 prompts here, and I will go over each of the 6 prompts. My link below will be to his video where he explains the rules and gives examples. But before I get going, of course, we need to know what we're listening to. This is something I got from Adam at Record Crate, one of his YouTube live streams sales. And I got 3 Ella Fitzgeralds and 2 Chet Bakers the other night from him. I'm listening to this one right now. We're all listening to this. And it's a live album from Ella Fitzgerald with Tommy Flanagan Trio. Sounds really good. It's playing good so far. So we'll hope for the best on that. But Ella Fitzgerald, isn't she wonderful? Just great. All right, I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with the first prompt, which was to pull in your collection your first and your last record. Now, these are from the A's, and I go by the last name. I know Discogs goes by the first name, and that drives me crazy. I go by the last name. If it's a band, I go by the first letter in the band's name. But if it's individual artist or a person's name and the band, I go by the last name. So Albert is the last name. The iconic Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass with the lovely Miss brain fart there, couldn't spit it out, Dolores Erickson right here on the cover. She's actually several months pregnant on here. Everybody knows little stories about this, of course, but this is an album everybody should have in their collection. Don't underestimate this album. It is really very, very good. So, and you shouldn't pay more than $1 for it, but don't underestimate it. You should have it in your collection. Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, whipped cream and other delights, with Dolores Erickson on the cover. What a lovely lady. Okay, and so that's the first thing I had in there. And the last thing down here is a various artists. And this various artist is a tribute to Charlie Parker. It's 3/27/65, Charlie Parker, 10th Memorial Concert recorded live at Carnegie Hall. Of course, I don't know all the jazz names, but I know the most, the ones that stand out in my mind, of course. Dizzy Gillespie's on here. Coleman Hawkins is on here. Roy Haynes. I think that's one. I'm sure all these guys are very important. Billy Taylor, I recognize his name. I actually saw Billy Taylor one time in concert. But there we go. A Charlie Parker Memorial Tribute. And some nice artwork inside, and it's got several pages. I paid $1 for this. I think I bought this at a thrift store. Maybe paid $1 for it. Okay. Okay, the next prompt was for a mostly blue album. So how about J.D. Crowe and the New South? And this is a self-titled album on Star Day, which is great country label that released a lot of traditional country when nobody else was doing it, things like this. And besides J.D. Crowe on this bluegrass album, besides J.D. Crowe, Tony and his brother Larry Rice also play on this. Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple? I'm not the hugest Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple fan, although I do appreciate their work and I do listen to it on occasion. My daughter, however, is a very big Led Zeppelin fan, so I'll have to go with Led Zeppelin. Got fond memories. We went to I don't know if she was like junior, senior in high school or freshman in college, somewhere around that time. We went to the local Shed concert venue and saw Hart and Jason Bonham's band, and they did. Of course, Jason Bonham's band did a lot of Led Zeppelin, and Hart came on and did join them to do some as well. And that was a real good experience, a great father-daughter experience with Led Zeppelin. For Christmas last year, I gave my daughter the first 4 Led Zeppelin albums, the Robert Plant remastered speakers. I got a bunch of speakers. I have this problem when I go to yard sales, thrift stores, and I see lonely speakers sitting up on a shelf or crammed into a corner or sitting in someone's yard. I tend to try to wheel and deal and get them for low prices. And it's kind of hit and miss. I've got some speakers in the unfinished part of the basement. And it's hard to say exactly what I've got there. You know, back in the 80s, they put out a lot of these big speakers, component sets that they would sell at the big box stores and the Sears Roebuck and places like that. And it looked impressive, but it really wasn't. They weren't that good of speakers. So, I do research. Sometimes there's not much to them. Sometimes they're pretty good speakers. But I got a bunch, as I said, in the unfinished part, and I've got a bunch in the basement, in the finished part of the basement. My brother gave me his Suzuki speakers, and I picked up some bookshelf speakers and some mid-size Yamahas at thrift stores and junk stores that are, I think, a little higher quality. So this is them. Now, my favorite speakers are the ones I bought in the early 80s. I went on Stereo Review, probably magazine, and I got a copy of that was evaluating bookshelf speakers, smaller speakers, and for the price they rated these speakers at the highest they could rate them. They're little cubes, and they're Allison 3s, and I have kept them all these years. Unfortunately, they the glue rotted, around the woofer, and I need to round the cone. I've got to recone those speakers. I've got the kit and everything. It's just a matter of me sitting down and doing it, and they should be good as new. I love those little speakers. Now, as far as my setup here in this basement room, this man cave of mine, I have 2 sets of speakers, and I kind of alternate back and forth. I picked up from a local guy. I found these on Craigslist, and they were Dawg Quest. Dawg DQM9s, and I did a little research before I bought them from him. They were pretty expensive speakers, and I gave him a little bit of money for them. They only had one screen cover for the two speakers, so I got them down a little bit for that, but they're really good speakers. In doing the research, I found out they were studio monitors, which is a little bit different than a home speaker. As I understand it, they may be a little too detailed or precise. I don't know. They should be sitting on a little stand for better sound, but I haven't got a little stand to put them on. And so those are the speakers I use sometimes. But my primary speakers are some that I bought about 3 or 4 years ago from Crutchfield online, and they're the Polk Audio RTI A3 bookshelf speakers, and they really do a good job. This room I'm in is not a large room at all, so I don't need anything to. I don't need Grateful Dead touring speaker type setup or Led Zeppelin speaker setup or anything like this. Bookshelves do fine, and I really like these Polks. They're broken in now, and I think they give really good sound. The fifth prompt is for a couple of records from my want list, and one of them is the twin, not twin, but the follow-up to this album. This is Tobacco A Go-Go, North Carolina rock and roll in the 60s on Blue Mold Records. Hard to find. I've got volume 1. I'd really like to get volume 2. Anybody sees this out there? If you can get it for a decent price, I will gladly reimburse you with a little extra. When I say a decent price, for under 20 bucks, 25 I'd go probably. One guy, most of them are in Europe, and I don't like ordering records from overseas. And they're running about 30 bucks asking price in the European, in the EU, but they're significantly higher here in the U.S. There's only like 3 of them in the U.S. for sale on Discogs. The guy was asking 48 bucks for it. I'm not paying 48 bucks for it. I'll find it eventually for a lot less than that. He had to make an offer, and I offered him $28 for it, and he didn't budge on that price. I got this one for $28, and they're usually going volume 1, and I would assume volume 2 ought to be going for about the same thing as volume 1. Volume 1's going for between 20 and 40 bucks, somewhere in there. 30 bucks is a good price for a very good plus, I'd say. But that's one I'd like to get. And the next one I'd like to get is an album. Make sure I say it. It's called The Hush Puppies. It's the name of the band. Too Much Country on Music Arts. It's a 1966 album from Ferlin Husky's band. They're his touring band. He's not on the album, but it's his band, an album by his band. I imagine they sold them at the shows and things like that. Discogs has it listed, but nobody has it for sale. I don't know whether, what the asking price would be for it. I'm sure it's obviously it's pretty obscure, but why do I want it? Because this man is the guitar player on that. This is Jimmy Capps, and this is his autobiography, The Man in Back, not Black, but The Man in Back. And Jimmy Capps grew up about 15 miles from where I live, where I grew up. And at age 19, he was playing mainly on the radio in this area, and he got a call from the Louvin brothers saying they wanted him to come up and audition for them. They needed a new guitar player. So at 19, he drove to Burlington and auditioned for the Louvin brothers and got the gig. And he went on the road with the Louvin brothers. He played the Grand Ole Opry in 1959 at age 19 with the Louvin Brothers. And he was still playing regularly in the Grand Ole Opry band on Fridays and Saturday nights, right up until he passed away earlier this year. I believe it was 83 when he passed away. So he had 60 plus years playing on the Grand Ole Opry. So I really would like to have that album, The Hush Puppies, because of that connection. I may talk more about this book and him. He had a very interesting life. He was there for so much of country music's history in Nashville from the late 1950s to this year. Okay, and finally, the last of the questions is a lesser known album from a well-known artist. Well, everybody that knows anything about country music knows the great country singer, the gentle giant, Don Williams. He put out a lot of albums, had a huge number of hits for many, many, many years, and he passed away recently. Well, Don Williams, before he was a solo artist, country music, he was in a trio of kind of folk singers in the mid to late 60s. And this is actually a sealed copy. I don't know why I haven't unsealed this. I never keep records sealed, but this one is, but I'll crack it open later. Hozo Seco, Spend Some Time With Me. That's the name of the trio. And I'm sure I butchered how to say that. But if you look, if I can get it, there's Don. And the other members are beside him in the doorway there. There's Don. And if you look, it definitely looks like Don, the younger version of Don. But he was in this band, and they had about 3 albums. Never made it real big. They got some airplay. They made the top 100 with 2 or 3 songs, enough momentum to lead to them getting some recordings, some albums out. What label is this one on? Surtron. I'm not familiar with Surtron, but it's on Surtron label. So there is my entry into the Nifty 650 from Chris. Chris, congratulations on this milestone, and I will remind everybody, be kind to your neighbors, because folks, we're all neighbors.